Welcome back to my channel, SocioSimplified. If you're new here, this is where we break down big sociology topics in the simplest, most relatable way possible. Today we're diving into something really interesting: gender subcultures in schools. Gender subcultures are basically the little mini-worlds that form inside schools, groups of students with shared identities, attitudes, and ways of resisting or following school rules. And trust me, it's way more complex than just boys versus girls. Let's start with the boys, because their subcultures often reflect ideas of masculinity and how they respond to school authority. Ward identified two groups, the Boiz and the Geeks. The Boiz were all about traditional masculinity, loud, confident, and always ready to joke around or mess about. They loved PE, math, electronics, and, of course, football and rugby. And yes, they weren't too kind to the Geeks. The Geeks, on the other hand, were quiet, well-behaved, followed rules, and were actually into learning. They read books, wrote poems, and played computer games, total opposites of the Boiz. But guess what? They were determined to achieve high grades. Now, Archer found something really interesting about Muslim boys. They identified strongly as Muslim and felt proud to belong to a global brotherhood. But they also complained that teachers often favored girls and that racism held them back. They would mess around and make laddish remarks as part of what Archer calls inhabitant masculinity. Many came from families with small businesses and traditional values, being fair, hard-working breadwinners. So their subculture was about balancing religion, masculinity, and identity in a society that sometimes misunderstood them. Now, remember, identities aren't fixed. They're changeable and complex. And even Archer's research got questioned, because the discussion groups were small and led by a woman, so people debated whether the boys were truly honest about their masculinity. Alright, let's talk about the girls now. Just like the boys, girls also formed their own unique subcultures in response to school expectations, class, and gender norms. Allan studied 25 girls in a single-sex, high-achieving school. The so-called rebels weren't impressed by academic success. They made jokes, acted uncool about studying, and were seen as underachievers by teachers. But here's the twist: these girls still did well nationally. They just didn't stand out in a super competitive, high-achieving environment. So rebellion doesn't always mean failure. Shain identified four main groups among British Pakistani girls. First, the gang girls who opposed their culture and school, which they saw as white and racist. Then, the survivors who worked hard and conformed to school rules despite racism and sexism. Thirdly, the rebels also questioned inequality inside their own communities. Last but not least, the faithfuls who prioritized religion and balanced faith with education. This shows just how diverse and intersectional girls' experiences can be, shaped by gender, ethnicity, and culture all at once. So overall, intersectionality helps us understand how all these identities connect. It's not just about being a boy or a girl, it's about how gender, ethnicity, class, academic pressure, and even the labor market shape who students become. School isn't just about learning subjects, it's about learning who you are. And that's a wrap for today's video. If you enjoyed this breakdown of gender subcultures, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more sociology made simple and more sociological evidences, of course only on SocioSimplified.